One big problem that I've faced with my life is the constant distraction I get from social media. I find that it constantly sort of pulls me in. And it's really hard to escape that. And one of the reasons why I think it's so hard is because it's very difficult to find positive action to counteract it. So what do I mean by positive action? Well, I think that it's much better to say to someone, for someone to say, I'm going to start going to the gym, as opposed to, I'm going to stop eating unhealthily. Because there's something about taking up a habit that's going to add stuff to your life, that's easier for the brain to commit to than taking away something. Because once you add things in, you have to, often by consequence, you have to take out a lot of things. So by going to the gym, you start enjoying how it feels to have like a good exercise routine. And then the appeal of eating unhealthily naturally goes away as a consequence. So wherever possible, I think it's much better to sort of use a positive habit to get rid of a negative habit. And I think basically a lot of negative habits, they only exist because they're just filling up space of lack of positive habits. So let's say you wake up in the morning one day and you go on your phone. Well, you're going on your phone because you've got nothing better to do, you know. If you're running some really exciting business, you can't afford to get up and look at your phone first thing. Well, maybe you do, but you won't be going on Instagram, you won't be going on TikTok, you'll be going on, you maybe will be checking your messages or something like that, something productive. And yeah, like I say, I've given the example of business, but there's not really an obvious way to quite easily accommodate like a positive habit to sort of push away the negative habit of social media, or at least so I thought. And what I've realised now is that the best sort of positive habit for getting rid of social media consumption is just sitting alone with your thoughts. It's funny because I think with a lot of the world, for most of history, like a lot of your life was just sitting down and just doing nothing in a way that it's just very difficult to acknowledge now. Like let's say you're a fisherman and you get caught on high tide, there's nothing, you just gotta wait until the tide lowers before you can go anywhere, or let's say you're a soldier in the Spartan, or like in the Roman army in Gaul, you just gotta walk everywhere. You're just marching everywhere. There's not like some big fancy. There's no equipment. There's no infrastructure to take you places. You can't go in a tank. You can't go in a car or a train. There's none of this stuff. You just gotta walk. If you're a sort of I don't know, like a spinster or something, you're making clothes out of wool, you're just sitting there and spinning wool. You can't just whack on a podcast while you're doing that. You can't listen to music really. Now obviously people accommodated around that, they'd sing songs while they're doing menial tasks, they'd tell stories to each other. But I think even with that, there's just a lot of space where just nothing was going on in the pre-information age that we're in now. And it's very hard just to acknowledge how little time we make for that today, where you're just doing fuck all, And it's funny because we do just think of that as not being productive to do fuck all. The idea of just sitting down, just having nothing to do. Very rarely does anyone just sort of sit down and do nothing. Just sit, okay, I've got nothing to do, I'm just going to sit down and just take in the atmosphere. But I feel like in the ancient world, not so long ago, like, you were forced just to sit down when you got nothing to do. Like that fisherman, he's just stuck there out at sea, he's caught all the fish that he needs. You just got to sit there and chill out, you know. It's funny, this kind of hustle culture, we think we need to do everything all the time. We always need to be really busy. We always need to be using our brains. But is that really the natural state that we're meant to be in, you know? Is that how we've lived for hundreds of years, let alone in like pre-agricultural times? And, I really don't think so. I really think we've lost just that ability to just sit in quiet. And, a lot of people, we've begun to talk about meditation and stuff like that. That's really good and really important stuff. But I think a lot of that is just a sort of... It's almost just a sort of symptom of not a craving to meditate. This craving to meditate, this not craving, but like this sort of craze of meditating. There's all these really popular apps that people use at the moment. A lot of it is just a side effect of us not sitting down doing nothing. That's the weird thing. You don't even have to meditate to do that. You can just sit down and do nothing. And part of why I think meditation is so popular is because it's just like, that's the only time we allow ourselves to do that, and it feels productive to just sit down and do nothing. Now, obviously, there are lots of other benefits to meditation, and I think, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it as well, but I do think that until you spend some time just sitting in your room, bored as fuck, you just won't realise what social media is doing to you. You really won't. You'll have an inkling that it's bad for you, But the past few days, I've just had a bit of spare time, and I've just not known what to do with it. And so I've literally just sat in my room on my sofa, and I've just set a timer for like an hour. I want to see if I can do it. Just sit in my room with nothing, and just see how that feels. And it's a bit boring for like 5-10 minutes, but after a certain point, you just feel like your brain's just clearing out all the gunk that it's seen on social media for the last few days. All these, it's funny, these things on TikTok and Instagram Reels, they take such small amount of time to make. Or in any case, like, people aren't putting their heart and soul into these TikToks. They're really quick things. They're just meant to capture your attention for 10 minutes, for 10 seconds, even. It can just be some stupid facts about, like, I constantly get these stupid facts about, countries and stuff. And, like, it's kind of cool to know, but it's just junk. It's just junk. And to spend a bit of time just without it, and not doing something, productive, not sort of getting some work done or not doing some exercise, just literally sitting there, and just not being stimulated by anything at all. It just feels so good. And I can just feel my brain just sort of, like I say, just clearing out all this junk that's been in my brain. And so anyway, I think that is how, if you're going on social media too much, let's be honest, you've tried going like deleting Instagram off your phone, you've tried limiting how much time you've been on your phone, you tried using all those apps to stop you off your phone, and it hasn't worked. Try this. It's something much more simple, and it makes so much more sense to me. Do this practice of just sitting in your room for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just doing nothing, just being bored, and just see how good it feels after a while, after your body stops expecting that dopamine hit of social media, and just feel how much more at peace you feel without it. And once you start tapping into that feeling, it'll be so much easier to resist going on Instagram. Like today, I'm about to drive to Norwich, and I had some music in the car, driving. So I just set off, but I had to stop at a nearby village. But I had some music in the car, and I drove out to this village and I stopped. And I'm about to set off again, and I actually thought, you know what? Like, I might just sit in silence for half an hour or so, or an hour, while driving. Just not have some music on. That might be kind of nice. I could do with that sort of break. And like, I think music is great to listen to. and it's really like, you can really like make a car journey feel so exciting, you know. So you do want to use music. I'm not saying deprive yourself of music, but you know, up to a point, you know. And it's that kind of quiet, that kind of peace is just so, I'm beginning to fall in love with it, you know. And it just gives you an opportunity to just think all those things that you should be thinking about that you don't. Like, you know, when you go to bed, you're in bed, and you just suddenly think, fuck, I need to text so and so about whatever, you know. Why do you think you get that? Well, I think it's because it's the only time that you're not truly distracted, you know. And like I say, sometimes you need to be distracted, you know, when you're in some deep work state, when you're exercising, you know, when you're talking to someone, you don't want to be thinking all these thoughts. But the same for when you're going on your phone, you know. If you're using your phone during the day, you're using social media, you just don't get time to think all these thoughts that need to be thoughts, you know. And so, for most of us, going to bed is the only time that we can think these thoughts. And so it's no wonder that we struggle to sleep, because we're spending all our time like thinking about these things all of a sudden, you know, that we just haven't let ourselves think about during the day. And, you know, to an extent you need to be able to control your thoughts, to, you know, just say, shush, I'm not going to worry about that right now. But, you know, at the same time, you need to actually accommodate a time to worry about it. And I think, you know, one of the best ways to do that is just schedule some time just to do nothing. And, you know, because while you're doing that, your brain is not doing nothing, you know. I think you need that kind of space for your brain to just go through its files, you know, and be like, right, you know, all these things that it needs to do all of a sudden that you just kind of pushed away, it can suddenly think about. And that's so important for the brain. So, yeah, that's my advice to you guys. If you do this, one thing you will find is that your brain will try and find any excuse to get you to do anything. You know, you'll suddenly think, because things will suddenly come up in your mind and you'll be like, fuck, I need to do that, I need to do that. And, you know, if you really, really need to do it, you know, like, sure. But I think if you can, just sit with that feeling of like, oh, fuck, I need to do this, for example. Like, when I did it yesterday, I started thinking like, fuck, I need to pack for this trip that I'm going on today, you know. But at the time, you know, when I got this thought, I just suddenly thought, do I? Why do I feel like that, you know? And I just sort of let myself think it for a little bit, sort of bask in that feeling. And if you can get yourself to bask in that kind of feeling of sort of that, well, any negative emotion really, it's really good. You know, negative emotion is information. And too much of us, we just think negative emotion needs action now, you know. We get sort of, we have a negative feeling and we need to sort it. You know, negative feeling, how do I sort it? But I slightly think the human brain is not used to solving all of its problems at once, you know, and maybe it's much better for the body to kind of circulate this worry, you know, up and down a bit, you know, and sort of try and work out, you know, what does it actually feel like to be worrying about this thing? You know, why am I worrying about it? You know, what is it about this that is captivating me, as opposed to this, you know? And in times gone by, we just have this built into our lives because we go on, like I say, long walks in nature. You know, a lot of life was quite boring because we didn't have constant stimulation. But I just think, I'm not saying the past is perfect, but you know, no wonder we're so stressed nowadays. You know, and I think we've taken away this opportunity to just mull over things. You know, in not even a very intentional way, you know, not even getting a pad of paper out and just writing everything down, just sitting with it, you know, and just let it do its thing that it's meant to do. So yeah, that's my sort of takeaway from this, guys. And yeah, give this a try. Let me know if it's helpful in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.